Okay, in this video we're going to take a look at drawing object or dimensioning object number 3 from activity 124 for the fundamentals of dimensioning activity in IED. So in order to start making this object, again I'm going to go sketch based on this one, and then in another video I'll show how to use primitives in order to create that. So I'm going to go ahead, first off, I'm at the top level of my activation for the components, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new component. You're going to see some of the ones are going to ghost in from my previous one. So I'll call this dimensioning object 3, and I'll say OK. And as far as this goes, I'm going to go ahead and create a new sketch, choosing the front plane, and from here I'm going to go ahead and go, this is going to be a 3 by 3.5. So this is going to be 3 tall by 3.5 wide. And from here, I can go through and finish the sketch. Again, we want to start off with a real basic sketch to get us started. An extrusion depth of 2.5. And I'm going to say OK. Alright, so as far as what we're looking at here is I'm going to end up, I'm going to start from the top. I'm going to create a new sketch. So we're going to do the cutouts here. So from the 2-point rectangle, I'm going to start from this corner, and based upon what we end up having here, this is 2 high by 2.5 wide, and I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and I'm going to finish the sketch. And I'm going to extrude, and I'm going to do a cut operation, and this is going to be a negative 0.5 or a ½ inch cut into the block. So that way we can kind of get that first level being done. Alright, so from here, what I can do is I can go ahead and create a new sketch, and in the new platform, kind of the bottom level that we created there, I can go through and create another 2-point rectangle. And this one here is going to end up being, so as we kind of see this, it's going to be 2 by 1.5, so 1.5 tall by 2 inches. And then I can finish the sketch. I'm going to extrude, and I'm going to choose this, and again this is going to be a cut down. Now this will be -1, and then I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So there we're starting to get some of our steps in there, and then the very last option is going to be to place a hole here. So I'm going to use the hole command, and I'm going to click the face. The size of the hole is going to be 1 inch. So one thing I like to do is go ahead and let's get the hole diameter correct, so that way it's not over bigger than your object that you're trying to create. And reference edges, so I'll select that, and I'll select this edge. So from this one it is going to be 1 inch, and then from the front edge here, this is going to be 0.75. And from there we're going to go ahead and go a distance all, so that way it goes all the way through the part, and then I can go ahead and say OK. So this goes through and creates the dimensioned object for number 3, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the save button. So right now you'll see I've done a top-down approach to where I name this dimensioning objects. Here I've got drawing object number 1, number 2, and number 3. So all 3 of these objects are in one file. And then I've just turned off the visibility to the first 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and move into the drawings to do so. So one thing you'll see is there's a link between that file and the drawing file. So I do need to click the update button. And what will happen is you'll see that on some of your previous drawings you may see object number 3 may go through and show up. Let's check the first one. So it is not, so they are not allowing that to be shown, so that's good. So I'm going to create a new sheet by clicking the plus sign. So that's kind of the reason why I do this top-down approach, is because I can put all 3 of these objects in the same drawing file. And what you'll see is, let me go ahead and change the scale here. This is a 3/4 scale, just like we've done before. I'm going to go ahead and click to place the base view and say OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to suppress numbers 1 and 2. And whereas what I would end up doing is if I did this bottom up, where every file had its own model, I'd have to have its own separate drawing file rather than one drawing file with multiple drawings. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. Alright, I'm going to double click on this. I do need my hidden lines in there. And let's go ahead and project, and probably based upon my we'll put this view in, and we'll see if we really need it. Okay, I'm gonna double click on this view. So one thing you can do is I can shade this. This is taking up quite a bit of room, as I can also change the scale. So let me drop that down to 1/2 inch, and I'm gonna say close. So usually ANSI says that this view needs to be subordinate to the main views. So because it's just there for visualization, we never dimension the isometric view. We just go through and utilize the multi-view projections to dimension from. Okay, a few things we have here. Center mark. I'll choose the circle there, and I need a center line. So for this hole here, and even for here. So which is the same hole, just being represented in different views. So as I take a look, some of my dimensioning techniques, I usually like to go through and get the overall height, width, and depth. So here we can go through and get the overall width. We could get the overall depth in this case, and we could also get the overall height. Okay, here I can kind of see I use some of my dimensioning techniques. So you'll notice I click top to bottom and look at where the number placement is. I'm gonna hit cancel. I'm gonna show you what that is too. So if I hit here to here, whatever the last one, and you're kind of planning your dimensions, you can go through. You can always move these dimensions as well. So after you get those done, but those are some things that we can kind of look at. All right, so I'm gonna click from here to here. This will give us 1. And then as I start to look at some of the other dimensions that I may need, so you would end up having from here to here is 2.5, from here to here is 2, and again I'm just kind of placing them in, and I can always kind of do that because I'm going to need a little bit more room. So as I place some different things in there. All right, so from here to here I need to know this whole location. I'm going to need from here to here, and I'm going to need from here to here. Okay, some of these dimensions like that worked out very nicely, so when you place them, they're kind of in the way. They kind of move on their own. Let me drag this one a little closer. And again, so larger dimensions, you want to go to the outside, and the ones closest, you want to be a little bit closer there. All right, so as far as this goes, it looks like all I'm really missing here is going to be a diameter dimension for the hole, and we can kind of place this up here. So that way it's not in the way of some of these other dimensions. Okay, and then, like I said, I don't even think we need this view. So you will need to, the center line is a separate entity, so you will need to delete it as well. But here is the object with dimensions, and this would finish out dimensioning for drawing object number 3 on activity 124.